Good afternoon, good day, and good morning. It's Michael again with Tribulation Ready Survival. Hey, we're going to go into a video here in just a few minutes that I think is very important. It's about Ubermatches, something that would go in your go bag, your SLB, that is a great tool to have. Literally costs pennies, and you probably have everything you need around the house. But before we go into that, I wanted to kind of give you some more information here, straight out of the Bible. Many times, God's people have been called to flee. Many stories in the Bible about survival. I don't know how, without God, the Israelites would have lasted 40 years in the wilderness without God. They start off with their own, what they had when they plundered Egypt, and they ended up having to rely on God from that point on. So we're not going to just stick with that. Here's another example of people having to flee. Today in my Bible study, I was reading in Jeremiah chapter 48. I'll start in verse 4, and I'm going to read this to you. Listen very carefully. Moab has been destroyed. Her little ones have caused a cry to be heard, for in the ascent of Luhith they ascend with continual weeping. For in the descent of Horonaim the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee, save your lives, be like a juniper in the wilderness, for you have trusted in your works and your treasures. You also shall be taken. And Chemosh shall go forth into captivity, his priests and his princes together. And the plundered shall come against every city. No one shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as the Lord has spoken. Give wings to Moab, that she may flee and get away, for her cities shall be desolate, without any to dwell in them. Cursed is he who does the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed is he who keeps back his sword from blood. And then it continues on. So, just right there are two examples where people have had to flee. And you want to know something? There is no guarantee that you're going to be able to escape. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you a better opportunity, a better chance to be someone who survives. And it's written right here. It's just another example. Not everyone's going to make it. And that includes me. Hey, I got a lot of experience. I've been through some things. And there's no guarantee for me. But I have God on my side. And His will is going to be done no matter what I do. But He's giving me the opportunity to prepare. And I don't think God has brought me this far to throw me off the cliff. And He doesn't do that. But also, the part in here where it says, cursed is the one who does the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed is he who keeps back his sword from blood. I promise you, and I have promised God to do His will and be whatever it is He wants me to do and say what He wants me to say. And so I'm going to tell you what I know to be the truth, the best practices that I know to help you in putting together a plan, some equipment, and some skills, getting some skills to try and make fleeing and survival a little bit better for you, a little bit easier. Hello again, it's Michael with Tribulation Ready Survival, and we're going to have a project here to put in your BOB. The project is called Ubermatches. So these are the types of matches that I use, that I put in my bag, because I know them. They work well. they're cheap, and I already have everything around my house that I need. You'll see some videos later on that actually show you how these work and how long they burn for, and they're pretty impressive. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you the list of things. I will post it up here in just a moment, of the things that you need. So what you're going to need is a fire source. So this is just a little cheap camp stove that I have, and we'll have more videos on that later. You're going to need a pan, or maybe like an old, like a tuna can or something disposable. This is something I bought at a garage sale. Still has a sticker on it for $1. You know, I bought it maybe a second-hand store or something, but just an old pan that you're not wanting to keep because you're going to be melting wax in it. You're going to need a pair of pliers. Tweezers would work, but this is my favorite pair of pliers. You're going to want a container. This is to hold them after everything's said and done and they're all cooled off. You're going to want to put them in something that kind of keeps them in one place. You're going to need a box of green tip matches. Some people use the strike on the box matches, not strike on the box, the strike anywhere matches. You can use those too, but I'm using the green tip matches. They work just fine. I've had some of these matches since about 2012. I made some Ubermatches back then, and in the video you'll see that I lit one of them off. I'm not sure exactly how many years ago. It's been 8 or 10 years ago, however long it's been. Worked just as good as the day I made it. So these things last a long time, and they're very good to use. So green tip matches. You're going to need a couple of tea lights, or these are some paraffin wax candles I just had laying around. You can even use old candle wax, birthday candles, you know, anything that melts down into wax will work just fine, with the exception of crayons. Crayons do not work in this project. The wax doesn't burn very well at all. I've tried it. So stick with tea lights or votive candles like this, old candles, those types of things. And then you're going to need some cotton balls, or you can even use, if you have women in the house that do makeup and remove makeup, you can use these 100% cotton pads that I had laying around the house, and they'll work just fine too. And then, of course, this surface here is just an old piece of wood that you're going to need to put them on while they're cooling after you make them. So, just so you know, a minute of safety, we are going to be using an open flame. I am outdoors. Anytime you do anything like this, you need to, 1, have your parents' permission, 2, know what you're doing, 3, I have a hose right over here just in case things get out of hand, which I don't anticipate. But again, use caution. We're going to be messing with some fire here, nothing crazy. But again, safety's the first thing we need to have to go. So here's what I'm going to do. Okay, so the first thing, if you have votive candles like this, you're going to need to just dig in here real quick and pull out the wick. You'll pull out the wick, stick it in there. I'll take the second one, do the same thing. Okay, now I'll set that aside for a moment. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your green tip matches. I use 4. And what you'll do is you're going to line them up with all the heads going the same direction. Okay? So you'll set them there. These out of the way. Then you'll take your cotton ball. And cotton balls come rolled up. That's how they get into the ball shape. So you'll unroll it just like this. And what you'll do is you'll start at the bottom and you'll roll it fairly tight. Not so tight that it's doesn't have any air, but you want to roll it tight enough that it's going to stay around the match. And what I will do is I will leave most of the tip of the match exposed. Okay, and that will come into play when it comes to lighting it. Okay, but it's still kind of nestled in there just a little bit. Okay, so now it's wrapped up. Okay, so the next thing we'll do, we'll get 3 or 4 of these ready to go, and then I'll come back and show you how to make the Ubermatches. Okay, so again, what you're going to do is you're going to take your matches, you're going to line them up so all the tips are going the same direction, and then you're going to take your cotton. You're going to wrap it around just a little bit here, and then slowly, slightly tightly, I mean with some tightness, but not so that it's mashed down. You want the cotton to be nice and fluffy. Okay, and then you're just going to roll it up just like this towards the tip. Now you're going to leave some of the tips out, not all of it, but just a little bit. Because like I said, it's going to come in handy when you're lighting it. Okay? So that's how you roll up the Ubermatch. And it will stay together fairly well on its own. And then you'll just set it aside. Okay, so now we're back. And I'm going to move my chair. So what we've got here is we've got the 2 pieces of wax. Okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to light my stove. So now I've got heat, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this around. I don't want it to get super hot. I'm not trying to burn the wax, I'm trying to melt it. Okay, and it's going to take a little bit. Adjust that heat a little bit. Okay, like I said, the goal here is to not burn the wax. It'll turn dark brown if it's this white wax. It'll turn dark brown when it burns. And you gotta kind of keep going around while it's melting. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. And once this melts, when it melts, then I'm going to shut the heat off because I don't need it still burning while the wax is already melted. Because it will not harden very fast. So you'll notice that I have taken away all of the cotton and all of the matches and anything else that might be flammable. I've moved that all away. And you're not going to start making these matches until you get the wax melted. And I would recommend that you get all the wax melted before you think about doing anything else, because those chunks of wax are going to get in the way. And these Ubermatches actually take quite a bit of wax, which is one of the reasons why they burn so long. You'll notice in the video that's attached along with this that when I'm showing the Ubermatches actually burning, it burned for over 8 minutes, which in a situation where you need to start a fire right now, 8 minutes is a long time. So plenty of time to get a fire started. There's other ways, and I'll talk about that later, but right now we're just melting wax. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, remember, this wax is very, very hot. If you get it on you, you will get a burn. So make sure that you're using as much caution as you can. And they're almost melted. This is where your pliers are going to come in handy, or tweezers, or whatever you've got. Even tongs, old pair of tongs, whatever you get wax on, it's not going to come off very easy. So the wax is almost melted. Okay, wax is melted. All right. So now I have shut the stove off. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the pair of pliers. I'm going to grab the Ubermatch, flames off, and I'm going to set it in there for just a second. I'm going to roll it around a little bit. And now it's covered in wax. I'm going to let a little bit of it drip off, and I'm going to set it aside. Very simple. Same thing. Roll it around just a little bit. It might come unraveled. If it starts to come unraveled a little bit, you can fix that here in just a second. See how this one came unraveled? I'm going to let it drip, and then when I set it aside, and I'll show you here in a second, when I set it aside, I just roll it back up. Because when it hardens, when it cools off, I should say, it will stay in place. Now you'll notice, I showed you those cotton pads earlier. I made this one out of a cotton pad. What I had to do is I had to rip it in half and then roll it around, and it worked okay. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set it aside, roll it up just a little bit. I got one more. I'm going to show you 4 of them. Dip it in the wax. I'll have a little wax left over, and that's fine. If I have a little extra wax, I can always re-melt that here in a little bit, which I'm going to do because I'm not wasting anything. It's important to not waste things, in my opinion. And so, we're going to move the camera around here. So now, what I have is 4, and they're still hot, so do not touch them. What I've got is 4 Ubermatches. They look like this. They're all nice and wrapped up. They're already starting to cool off a little bit. And you can, if for whatever reason, if you want to, kind of pat them together just a little bit if you think it's going to come apart. But you don't want them squished. You don't want them squished together because they don't burn as well. This one kind of came unwrapped, and like I said, it's going to stay together once I leave it just like so. And once it's cool, it will be ready to use and store, or store and use, whatever. And so this is how you make Ubermatches. Hey guys, so we're going to try out one of the Ubermatches that you just saw me make. It's the next day. It's nice and solid. So we're going to see how long this burns for. Very simple. Boom. So, we are going to time this. I'm not going to make you watch the entire time, so we'll pause it and come right back. So I want you to notice something. It's pretty windy today, and while these are not considered storm-proof matches, they're pretty wind-proof, so I'm going to try blowing on this to try to blow it out, and it doesn't work very well. So I'm blowing pretty hard on there. So not only are they waterproof, they're wind-resistant matches. You know, they'll work when you need them to work. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you've subscribed. We want to get 50 and 100 subscribers. So what we're trying to do to get the 50 mark is we want you to tell your friends. We want you to subscribe. And when we hit that 50 mark, I am going to be giving away a life straw. Not a sponsor, but this will help you filter out about 1,000 gallons of fresh moving water. And it is something that doesn't have an expiration date. So you literally take it out of the package, put it in your go bag or your SLB, and it's sitting there ready for you to use when you have to use it. This is a great tool to have. I have multiples of these in different places, and I want you guys to have one too. So when I get 50 subscribers, we're going to have a drawing and give one of these away. Again, it's Michael, and I'm here with a bug in my ear. Hang on a second, we're going to test this out. Word of caution, guys. Here's what happens when you get the wax too hot.